The Las Vegas Raiders is one of the most mysterious franchises in the NFL, with the inconsistency, unpredictability, and sometimes the misled things that we deal with, makes the team so lovable and hateable at the same time. As a diehard Raider fan, this team has brought me so much joy and happiness, along with distress and anger. So let's get into the changes and rebrands of this franchise. Also, if you would ever mind subscribing, I'd really appreciate it because I'm going to be making a lot of NFL content and going over things about the Raiders and maybe even other teams and just some entertaining NFL content. So it would really mean a lot if you guys would hit the like button and subscribe. Also, I will be talking some things bad about the Raiders, but just keep in mind that I love this team with a dying passion, and no matter what happens, I don't care if we go 0-16 for the rest of our lives, I'm still going to be a fan. The creation. In 1960s, the Raiders were created as one of the 8 original teams in the AFL. Their first season was not too great, going 6-8 and finishing 3rd in their division. Their second season was an embarrassment, going 2-12 and finishing last in their division, and you couldn't think it would get any worse, but it does, with their third season going 1-13 and finishing last. After going through 2 horrendous coaches in Eddie Urlatz and Marty Feldman, the Raiders made one of the best hires in NFL history.
As a young guy, I had a dream that someday I would build the finest organization in professional sports.
Al Davis first came to the Raiders in January 1963. At age 33, Al was the youngest man in pro football to hold the dual positions of head coach and general manager. In Al's first year there, the Raiders finished the 1963 season at 10-4 and second in their division. By the early and mid-60s, the Raiders seemed to be a pretty decent team and turned around by Al Davis. But in 1968, they sparked and went 12-2, but sadly lost to the Jets 23-27 in the AFL Championship. And in 1969, they went 12-1-1 and led the league in wins for a 3rd consecutive season, and led by Al Davis and 2-time MVP quarterback Daryle Lamonica. The late 60s regular season was owned by the Raiders, with their entire record being 37-4-1 in their last 3 seasons combined. Madden's game. In 1969, the Raiders hired John Madden, who was at the time the youngest coach at just age 32. He was coached for 10 seasons with the Raiders, going 103-32, and had 7 ties. For all those years under Madden, the Raiders never experienced a losing season. During the 70s, Madden coached 9 Hall of Famers, the most known being Jim Otto, Gene Upshaw, Fred Biletnikoff, Ted Hendricks, but the real leader was quarterback Ken Stabler, who's also in the Hall of Fame. Stabler won MVP in 1974 and was nicknamed the Snake. He threw for 19,078 passing yards with the 10 years he was on the Raiders. And we can never forget the 1976 season when we went to the Super Bowl. After going 13-1 in 1976, the Oakland Raiders made it to the Super Bowl.
Raiders arrived at Super Bowl 11 on the threshold of greatness. A victory would cap one of the most remarkable seasons in the history of the game. Standing between the Raiders and their destiny were the Minnesota Vikings, another team that couldn't win the big one.
So here it is, the battle between 2 denied teams. The Vikings, who have 3 times been to the Super Bowl, never a winner. The Raiders 6 times on the threshold, not getting here. These are hungry football teams, and the world waits to find out who's going to wear that Super Bowl ring.
The Raider offensive line never had a finer hour. Gene Upshaw and Art Shell chewed up Minnesota's Purple People Eaters, and Oakland rolled up more rushing yards than any team in Super Bowl history. Behind a wall of silver and black, the Snake was flawless, picking Minnesota to pieces. Super Bowl 11 was never a contest.
Oakland Raiders joining him. They're coming off the bench. They're mobbing him down in the end zone.
After the Super Bowl and throughout the rest of the 70s, the Raiders were a pretty solid team, finishing second or third in their division, while still being led by Stabler and Madden. But in 1979, Madden retired from coaching and became a sports commentator. And Ken Stabler was traded to the Houston Oilers for QB Dan Pastorini, and the media, along with fans, thought this would be the downfall of the franchise. Little did they know, it would be the birth of an even better era in Raiders football. After a rocky beginning with the Raiders, in Week 4, Pastorini broke his leg, so it was time for former number 1 pick Jim Plunkett to take his spot. Plunkett went from an NFL bust on the Patriots to a Raider legend, throwing for 12,665 yards with 8 seasons in the silver and black, and then also added 80 touchdowns. And keep in mind, the 80s were different from today. There were more run-heavy offenses, which makes Plunkett's numbers even look more impressive. In 1980, the Raiders tied for first in their division with the Chargers, but the Raiders became a wild card team. There was no hope for the Raiders coming near the Super Bowl, considering they were a wild card team and being led by their backup QB. But the Raiders, led by coach Tom Flores, who was also the Raiders' early QB, and Plunkett, made history. After beating the Browns in the AFC divisional round, the Raiders beat the San Diego Chargers in the AFC Championship. At their first year without Madden and Stabler, went to the Super Bowl, being the first wildcard team to ever do so.
Conference, the Oakland Raiders danced into this prestigious ball wearing glass slippers. If ever there was a Cinderella champion, it was these men in silver and black. Least known of all these Cinderella stars.
Back is Jaworski. Sets up really deep. Now comes up the middle. Picked off. Rod Martin, the third time to And Rod Martin once again slams the door in the face of the man they call Jaws, a sort of fitting symbol. Silver and black football is king of the hill in the National Football League. Crescendo of Raider fans beginning to rise.
Oakland's victory created the sort of joyous reaction that comes with seeing something that suggests all things are possible. The Oakland Raiders, for 17 years, pro football's winningest organization, were once again the world champions of professional football.
The Prince came calling. Prince Pete Rozelle. He had a silver slipper.
The Raiders became, of course, the first wild card to win the Super Bowl. I think it's a tremendous compliment for the organization because you had to win 4 postseason games. I think it's a great credit to you.
After a history-making Super Bowl victory, the Raiders drafted Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen in the first round. With this pick, they look even better than they did before. And after 2 decent seasons in 81 and 82, the Raiders had an outburst, going 12-4 and making the playoffs once again. After a great playoff run, the Raiders faced the Seattle Seahawks in the AFC Championship. Yes, Seattle was in the AFC at the time, and actually in the same division as the Raiders. Anyways, the Raiders won 14-30 and were going to the Super Bowl again.
When we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future. And with all the great teams we've had, I think today that this organization, this team, this coaching staff dominated so decisively that 2 things must be said. Not only, in my opinion, are you the greatest Raider team of all time, I think you rank with the great teams of all time that have ever played any professional sport.
Plunkett giving to Allen, sending him wide left. He has to reverse his field, but he gets away for a moment, comes back up the middle of the 30, 25, 40, breaks past 2 men at the 50, down to the 40, picking up a blocker, to the 20, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo! 74 yards! 74 yards! The Raiders are mobbing Marcus Allen, who has just stood a crowd of 72,000 on his collective ear.
Allen's touchdown was a play called 17 Bob Tray O. The Raiders have used it for years, but no one ever ran it quite the way Allen did in Super Bowl 18. In the fourth quarter, Allen's ball carrying set up a field goal, and he finished the day with 191 yards rushing, the most ever by anyone in a Super Bowl. He was lightning in a game ruled by thunder, and he lit up the Super Bowl sky with a history-making performance.
Let's keep dominating this team. Let's keep dominating. Keep dominating. No doubt. That's right. Let's abuse them. Let's abuse them, baby.
The Raiders have always talked a mean game, and on this Sunday, they played one.
Mike Davis with a safety blitz. No way Theismann could see him. He was jolted loose from the ball, and the Raiders take it away. Then the Raiders celebration will start.
In Super Bowl 18, the Raiders again scaled the heights of football greatness and stood alone on the summit. A team of young men filled with promise and old veterans filled with pride. The 1983 Raiders are an honor to the team's glorious past and the world champions of pro football's present.
Sadly, the Raiders never won a Super Bowl after that, but they did have tremendous teams. In the late round of the 1987 draft, the Raiders got Bo Jackson, and this would be a very good choice.
And the American Conference. Against all odds, the drama continues. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's Super Bowl!
Although Bo Jackson did not play a long time, he created an astonishing numbers as a 1-2 punch player, with a career of average of 5.4 yards per carry and 2,782 yards while only playing a total of 34 games as a fullback. He was one of the greatest 1-2 punch players of all time, but a brutal hip injury cut his career short, but it will go down as one of the greatest athletes and one of the greatest 1-2 punch players ever. When the 90s came around, the Raiders did not do as good as they did in the 70s and 80s, but they were still an amazing team, and we're about to get into that. From 1990 to 1995, the Raiders' record was 55-41, so they were all around a pretty decent team, but nothing like they were in the 80s and 70s. But in 1996 to 1999, the record was 27-37, so they kind of fell off. But during the early 2000s, things changed.
June 5th, 2001, one of the most prolific wide receivers in NFL history became an Oakland Raider.
Jerry, when you saw yourself in silver and black for the first time, what went through your head?
Yeah, I look good in it, man.
Third down and short. Gannon to throw, and he's going for Rice, wide open. Touchdown!
Even a 39-year-old can run by it.
Gannon down the sideline to play.
You know, I think bringing Rich Gannon in here has really made a big difference. He has taken over the system like, you know, he's been doing it since day one.
After getting #1 receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, and 2002 MVP Rich Gannon at quarterback, our receiving core with Rice and Tim Brown was loaded, along with Charles Woodson on defense, all led by John Gruden, our coach. Things were looking good.
Good split now. Settle him. You got time. Hey, this is an all-day sucker now. Give me some time. Another pass wide open is called for the 20. It's a Raider touchdown and a touchdown.
After going 11-5 in 2003, we got a playoff spot and went to another Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, against our former coach, John Gruden. Turns out, the Super Bowl was an absolute slaughter to the Raiders, losing 21-47, with the last play of the game being a pick six. After having a great franchise winning 3 Super Bowls, after this game, it all went downhill. The year after the Super Bowl, we went 4-12, then 5-11, then 4-12 again, then 2-14, then 4-12, then 5. Well, you get the pattern. But in 2016, we actually did really good, going 12-4 and into the playoffs. But that was soon to die as soon as Derek Carr got injured. But we actually haven't won a playoff game since 2002. But this year, when we moved to Vegas, we're actually doing a pretty good job, going 6-4 and a runner-up for the wild card. And I'm really excited to see what the Las Vegas Raiders hold in the future. Go Raiders. Also, this took a really long time to make, so I wouldn't mind it if you guys would subscribe. Thanks for watching.